Update 1.26 is pretty massive, and it comes with a lot of quality of life changes, as well as a new tech tree line. In this video, we're going to go through and try and digest as quickly as we can, without going into too much detail, because obviously this is all subject to change, but just giving you the rundown of every single thing in this update. Obviously, once this all becomes into the live server, I will then give you a full rundown on everything that is in the game and how it all works. Obviously, some stuff, if it's just very simple, I won't bother. But for stuff like the Czechoslovakian tech tree line, then yes, there will be full videos on them, just not while they're in development, let's say. Once on the live server, 100% you're getting gameplay of them. But let's start out with the Czechoslovakian Light Tanks. They're going to start at tier 7, coming on from the Skoda T25. Now, the tier 7 itself, which is this Skoda T17, is not actually going to have the autocannon, which is kind of the gimmicky or novel feature of this line. This is used as a transition tank, as you can see here, which is what Wargaming wants it to be. That will go from being the Skoda T25 into what will hopefully get you to know about the Czechoslovakian light tanks from tier 8 onwards. Honestly, it would have been nice just to go straight into it rather than having like a transition tank, but whatever. But from tier 8 onwards, they are going to have these autocannons, which, let's be honest, is just like a Panzer 1C, but just on steroids. So these are very, very fast firing, obviously, and that's about it. Because for everything else, they don't really seem to be that great. Here's what I mean. This is the Tesak, or however you say it. It doesn't have a very good dispersion at 100 meters. It has very, very good DPM. But then if you actually want it to be a light tank, it's not really that great. Because if you do set it up to be a light tank, let's say you go for low noise, optics, and then you get CVS as well, put that all together. If you want it to actually be a light tank, you have 458 meters view range. With optics, 24% camo. Okay, we don't have the camo rating. Now we're up to 27, but okay, we don't have the crew skills yet. So let's go and get ahead and get some crew skills. Bearing in mind, once you get to tier 10, you're going to probably have about maybe 3 crew skills. So we'll go and do that. And obviously we do have the new perk system as well. So we go ahead, we choose Brothers in Arms, we choose Concealment. We are then going to choose Recon. And I would genuinely like to have Repairs, to be honest with you. For our bonus perks, we're obviously going to choose Situational Awareness. And then for the perk that we're training, we'll choose Communications Expert. So then the same thing again, but this time we're going to choose Deadeye, because I think that these are going to be extremely funny with Deadeye, actually. And then for this, I think that we want to have Intuition as our main one. And then for our secondary one, I don't really know. I mean, I guess something like Ammo Tuning would be nice, but also Safe Stowage. I don't know. It's hard to choose. I'm going to go with Ammo Tuning. And then finally, once we have all of that, we go with Off-Road Driving. You might as well do this because it just makes everything better. The rest of these are kind of non-existent, kind of, for this style of tank. And now we have 41% camo and 494 meters view range, which, to be honest with you, is not that great. You see, the problem is that this tank is now fully maxed out. If you then get an RHM and you use the same setup, you would then have 522 meters view range with 44.29 camo rating. I mean, okay, we don't have field mods. Maybe the field mods will benefit from this massively. So for the first one, obviously, we want to have the top forward speed. Then we'll have the reload time. I believe that one was the reload time, right? Yes. And then for this one, the free top reverse speed. Do we want concealment or do we want view range? We don't want anything, to be honest with you, for this tank, because it doesn't have either one that could benefit from it. You can't knock this view range down because then you won't spot anything, and you can't really, you know, it doesn't work like that. You have 41%. You can't benefit from either one. And then this one, concealment of enemies behind foliage, please. And then that's that done. So it doesn't really change anything. You see, the really nice thing about the RHM is that field mod, I can actually choose concealment and I still have more view range than the Tesak. So this feels like an RHM, where it's very, very good combat capacity, but then kind of useless as actually scouting. And for the size difference, like between them, they're pretty similar. And you may look at this DPM thinking that it's really, really good. The problem is, it doesn't really get pen. So you have 800 shell velocity as well on the standard rounds with 192 pen, which you can't do anything with that. at tier 10, unless you shoot very, very low armored tanks. And then for this one, 247 pen is a lot better, but again, it's not really very good. And then you have the HE rounds, which only have 50 pen. I mean, it doesn't cost too much, I guess, like 38,000, and then this would cost 43,000, so you're not really getting charged too much more for firing the premium round, but you would never want to fire the HE round. And interestingly enough, the HE round actually costs more than the APCR round, which makes me think, what is the point of the AP round on this tank? So yeah, I don't know. This tank doesn't really make sense to me. It just doesn't. I don't really know what to think of it. Very funny against lightly armored tanks, but kind of useless against anything else. But we'll have to see how the rest of the tech tree is, because it will be interesting to see how they perform. And it will be also interesting to see how this performs in the actual live gameplay or the live server, because in the test server, it's very hard to actually just get gameplay that isn't just completely awful. You have people, obviously, that play there that are going into tier 10 games that have never played anything above tier 5 in their life, and now they're playing tier 10, and the state of the game in that test server is awful. So it will be quite interesting to see what it is like once it's fully released, and we get to see that. But yeah, more info will be on this when they're actually on the live server, and I'll do a full video on them. But just for everybody that needs to know, start saving up your free XP on the Skoda T25, and then you should be good to go to get the Skoda T17 once this goes live. Also, you will need, because I bought them all recently, you will need 50,000 XP to get the Skoda T17. So that is coming from the Skoda 225 to get the Skoda T17. You'll need 50,000 XP. So that's the number that you need to aim for to get the Skoda T17 on release day. Now, you may have also seen, while I was doing that, the new crew system. And again, I don't really want to go into too much detail in this video, because I want to do a full video on this system when it's in the game. Because I don't want to do something and then it gets changed once it goes into the live server, or something gets, changed. I know that the common test, most of the time, like I would say 90% of what is on the common test usually goes into the live server. However, I don't want to do a full video on this and then it gets changed. So I'm just going to stay kind of quiet with it for now. Once it goes into the live server, you can expect a full rundown of the new perk system that is going into the game. Now, vehicle rebalancing, which is the biggest probably thing that a lot of people are interested in. And finally, they are buffing the Batchat 25T. But they're also then changing the rest of the line along with it, all the way down to the tier 5 with the ELC AMX. And yes, it's still called the ELC AMX. I still call it that. I don't care. I'm not calling it the AMX ELC BIS. No, ELC AMX, as it always used to be. As well as the Batchat line, they are doing the M48 pattern, and they're also doing the K91. So all of these are actually getting changed, and they're going to also be altering the tech tree module reworking when you're actually grinding up the tech tree. Now, I don't know exactly what modules are being removed because, well, they don't tell you. Apparently, I can go to the patch notes here. Wait, let's have a look. Okay, there's a lot in here, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know what any of them are. However, the entire thing is meant to simplify the experience from grinding up the tech tree. So this should be a lot nicer to go towards the Batchat. And as you can see, it is. Like, this is a very, very easy grind. There's not too many guns. There's not too many modules. I like this. This is good. There's only one set of engines. Very nice, actually. That really does improve it a lot. That is a much, much nicer grind to go up the tech tree. The same thing goes for the M48. So obviously we start at the M4A1. Again, they've still got the derp gun. That's still there, so that's not going anywhere. But then you can go up, grinding through. Not too many things to worry about. Go to the Pershing, then the M48, sorry, the M46, and then the M48. Okay. I don't know exactly what modules they removed, what they've done to make it easier, because it has been a long time since I last grinded one of those. So you have to let me know if it's a massive difference, if you're, say, grinding it right now. I'll go through quickly the K91 tech tree as well. So you start with the T34, then you want to go to the A43, and then the A44, then the 416, then the 432, and then the K91. So yeah, if you have been grinding them and that interests you, then there you go. That is what it will be like. So I wouldn't bother even grinding anything on this line until that update comes out, because it'll be a lot easier yeah, just hold off grinding that until the update comes out. So less useful modules, including those with historical significance that conflict with gameplay requirements, will be removed. And the characteristics of remaining modules will be improved. So they're just going to be getting rid of some of the crap modules, basically. The ones that you grind through and you just think, well, what is the point of it? I mean, we still have some modules like that in the game. Like, how many engines do we need on the T28, for example, or on the KV1? You know, all of this, we don't need this. So hopefully they can get rid of some of that on the existing tech trees as well, or the other tech trees, and just get rid of some of the useless grind that we have to do. They're also apparently going to be increasing or enhancing the stock configurations. Honestly, playing stock is always just going to be awful. It doesn't matter what tank you're in, apart from a 430 apparently. I would like to see them just remove the stock grinds from the game and then go into it with a good gun, but then you can make the gun a bit different. So for example, you can maybe pick between like the T44. Imagine if they made it so that you had one 85mm gun, which had good pen and it was viable. You had one 100mm gun and one 122 gun. Like, imagine if you just had that and you could just choose from them and you would unlock it as you get the XP. That would be good, because it at least then has all guns that are viable. Whereas with this, it's just, you know, like, why do I need to unlock this? And then to get this, I need to go through one 100mm gun, then another 100mm gun. It just doesn't really make sense. But at least they are trying to change something to do with the stock grinds. So we'll have to see how it goes on later on. There has been improvements for premium vehicles. All of these are getting buffed. So the WZ111, the Alt Proto, the MX CDA, and the IS5. Are these going to change the vehicles rapidly and make them god tier overnight? I think the CDA was already pretty good. And apparently enhancing the... I think they're increasing some of the DPM. Yeah, increasing the reload time, reduce the aiming speed. So I think that the CDA will be quite nice to play. The rest of them are still probably going to be a bit meh. There is going to be new random events. There's one on Pilsen, Malinovka, and Karelia. There's going to be a rock slide on Karelia. There'll be the plane crash on Malinovka right at the very top of the hill. And on Pilsen, there is going to be destruction in the central plant and moving trains. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't actually seen any of them in game. But again, once it goes onto the live server, we'll see as well. Now onto the map reworking, and this is probably one of the biggest things that a lot of people are going to be interested in. And me especially, because I'm going to be reworking all of my map guides as well. So for Mannerheim Line, they are changing the heavy tank corner. This is now going to be changed quite drastically, as you can see, where now this is a lot safer to actually get to. So beforehand, when you would cross down here, it was so open, as you can see. It's so open when you're crossing down this side. And then everybody over here would just shoot you as you're getting into position. Now you have lots and lots of little ridge lines where you can come down, you can be safe, and you can then get into a better position, making this a lot more of a fairer fight. It was beforehand that this side would just always win unless you got like an idiot team that didn't do anything. Because if they all went down here and then took up defensive positions, you should win this side, because you can just shoot them before they even get into position. If there's a mouse or something coming down this way, it's an easy shot to hit. So I really, really like this change. The only thing that I don't like is that it is a bit too easy now to go around and do the little climb to get into their base. The only challenging part is where you go to about here and then getting around to here, because that's a little bit deep. I still think some people are going to drown, and it'll be very funny when they do. But just know, when you see someone drown this, it's almost impossible to drown. I'll say that. I could do it in pretty much any tank at this stage. It's way, way, way easier to do this little climb around to here. They've also changed this area where, well, not so much this area at the top, but underneath. So when you do slide down, you don't drown. However, you're still probably going to drown because someone will just shoot your tracks and then you're tracked under there and then you'll drown. So either way, you're still going to slide down. They haven't fixed the soap rocks. It's still slippery and it's still very annoying. For the middle, this hasn't really changed too much. The bush over here has changed slightly. So it is now a little bit more to the right, which doesn't really change too much, to be honest with you. And they've now added this bit here. Honestly, I have no idea what this does. When I was in game, I didn't really notice much difference. You can hide from people that are over in the right-hand side of the map, but that's about it. Another big change is that they have removed all the trees and a few little tank traps here, or rocks, whatever they are, when you're positioning or pushing through into the enemy's base over this way. This is actually a lot bigger than you think, because from here, it used to be that you could knock all these trees down and then be unspotted when you're shooting people as they're pushing up. And you're going to notice this a lot in all of these map changes, that they seem to be trying to make the map actually flow. If you've listened to any of my previous videos with complaints about the maps, it's that as soon as you win a flank, it is extremely hard to push through that flank. Because once you win, you're then greeted with everyone and their nan waiting in a bush for you to then just approach you. So now they have a lot more freedom to actually push up. They're not going to be just getting shot by invisible people, and then they can actually progress the game. There are still plenty of positions around the map where they can dig in and start to fight the people, but it gives that ability of the team that won that flank to actually push up and progress the map and the game. Another thing to add is that A0, which is at the top left, or would be at the top left over here, has also been changed. So when people push through here and then they get to about this point, usually people in A0 will start shooting you. That doesn't happen anymore. They will get spotted because of how the bushes are now. They have been pushed all the way back so that if you go all the way to the red line and shoot, you're still going to get spotted through that bush. There is also the position at G4, which is roughly located around about here, where people would be able to shoot through the rock face over this way and then shoot the heavy tanks that are pushing up. That can't happen anymore. You have to now go all the way out in the open to be able to shoot it. Again, trying to progress the map and not getting shot by invisible tanks. The overall Mannerheim line, I thoroughly enjoyed all the changes on that. It has made the map actually insanely good to play and to try and progress through. Next up, we have Oyster Bay. Now, this, again, is a very big change. They actually say here, the following maps receive less significant, yet still important updates. I would argue that Oyster Bay has almost changed more than Mannerheim line has, because Oyster Bay, I would say, is actually playable now. Beforehand, you remember this spot right here, where you would have one heavy tank, then another heavy tank, you just sit there looking at each other, no one can shoot anyone, and no one dared to push either, because as soon as you push, you get shot by every single tank destroyer at the back of the map. Well, now, they have made it so that there's a tunnel, and there is also hold down spots either side, as well as a nice passage that you can go to get safe here. This is a lovely change. Also, another thing that they don't mention is that basically where this ends is all rock and walled off. So tank destroyers at the back can't shoot you. So you're actually safe and you're able to fight and have a fight around here. Now, this tunnel does actually go through into the middle kind of ravine area. But I don't think that this is going to be that useful to go down it into there rather than trying to go up and through it to then break this stalemate over here. So I do feel like it does actually help out with the flanking, because if you win down the bottom, you can then try and win up here as well and get this out of the way. So I feel like this is a very good update. As you can see right here, beforehand, you would have in the middle of the map absolutely nothing. And now there is a lovely little cave that you can go through to help out your team over that side. And on the opposite side of the map, you will see that beforehand, this was all very, very flat. And there is now loads of little ridge lines that stop you from getting shot by tank destroyers at the very back of the map. Thank the Lord. They've also changed the runway section, so there's a little bit more of a ridge line and stuff like that, and hopefully that will help out light tanks. However, I do have a few issues with that. Again, once I go and actually make a video on Oyster Bay, then you'll see if those issues do flourish, but I'm not sure. Either way, solid change in Oyster Bay. I really, really like it. Again, some of the TD positions got nerfed, where they have to actually go out into the open if they want to be able to shoot and not just sit behind a bush and just stay hidden forever. So again, lovely changes for Oyster Bay. I love that we are actually being able to move through the map and not just get held up instantly by tanks that we cannot spot. And now moving on to Outposts, and the same kind of story goes for this map, where there has been a big change for the heavy side, and it's just a lovely quality of life update. This side here is no longer able to really go too hold down unless you want to go all the way over here. And the same thing goes for the opposite side as well. You can't really go up close anymore to here because you will be exposing your hull. And there are plenty of little houses in the way, so it's not just a stalemate of let's sit here and let's sit here and then we just battle it out. Whereas this will be able to be pushed up and move through and be able to actually fight people, which is so much nicer to see. We can then also go into this little ridgeline here, and it is just beautiful. Hold down tanks and go into this and deal with this tanks, while still being fully safe from anything to the left, unless they get overrun. So this is just, I think, quite well thought out, because you have plenty of opportunity from up the top as well to shoot into people and get support. Just everywhere is very, very well done, I feel. Whoever's been making these map designs or map changes has got them spot on, to be honest with you. And also from up top, it used to be that you would get shot from the middle. Now the opposite side, which is just to the left here, never got shot from the middle because there was a house there. So what they did, they added a house. So the heavy tank side is actually really, really nice and kind of sectioned off from the rest of the map. Let them have their battle. Let them fight. You don't need external stuff going on. Let them play their own little game. If you're going to make a free corridor map, don't go ahead and then make it so that the middle can just end up shooting, people up here, but not over here. It doesn't make sense. And let the heavy tanks actually have their battle. This is a lot better. Other changes were also that the tank destroyer spots, which you can actually see at the very back over here, got changed so there's less bushes. And also for the opposite side, got changed as well. So they're just less bushes for where the tank destroyers can actually go. And if tank destroyers want to sit there, they can, but once they fire, they'll get spotted for it. Lakeville changes were irrelevant, I think is the best way of putting it. They removed some bushes, so tank destroyers can't sit there. Very nice. But that's about it. The other changes were not really that interesting. C2D2 was simplified. None of these changes you'll probably notice in-game. So Janky got changed, but not a lot. It was mostly just a spotting issue where you could actually spot through a building up into C6 or from C6 into A5. It doesn't really matter too much that it's been done, but obviously it was an issue, so yeah. And also the training square K6 was raised. Honestly, it's a tiny change, but it makes a little bit of difference if you are sniping or supporting from a bit further back, whereas now they can't just shoot as soon as they start pushing through. Steps actually got a massive rework. The thing is, I don't know why Lakeville got a sponsor here with basically this before and after, when the Steps one was massive. The Steps one was so big, it basically redesigned the entire heavy side of the map. They removed all the bushes where tank destroyers can go and sit and just farm the heavy tanks. So if a tank destroyer is back there, you're probably going to spot it. And also, they just redesigned the heavy tank corner or the side where there's so much room where you can just move around and get different positions on the enemy. And that's from both sides. It's really well done. And I really am quite surprised that they didn't implement it into this, because it would have been a great before and after. Tundra got changed where they finally fixed the problem of tanks getting basically one shot as soon as they go across the gap to get onto the hill. No more is that a problem. So you can now safely get to the hill without dying, just like how the other side of the map can do it. I don't know why it took them that long, but here we are. It's finally happened. And on Abbey, the bush in C1 has been removed. So you can now still go there. You could still spot that, but you will get spotted in return. So no longer can you just farm people without getting spotted down that heavy tank side of the map. So overall, the map changes are solid. They have done really, really well, and I'm happy that these map changes are being implemented into the game. It stops the constant just camping of the TDs that then just punish anybody for trying to make a play of pushing up and actually winning the game. So I'm very happy that all of these are in here. Now, Onslaught is going to make a return, the season of the Azure Manticore. I'm not going to speak about this too much. Once we actually get into the season, I'll then speak about it, and once it's actually released, because this video is already long enough, and if I went and spoke about everything in Onslaught, it would be here again for another 40 minutes or something. So what I will say is that they are changing the RNG for potential damage dealt to plus minus 12% instead of 25%. Now it's just the damage. It is not the pen roll. It is purely just the alpha damage. And it is only going to apply to the Onslaught season, not in randoms, only to this game mode. They're also going to be changing the modifiers so that it is no longer plus 25% for vehicle durability, but just plus 650 HP. Now, this is going to have less HP overall. However, it's also better for the tanks that have less health because obviously they'll gain more health. For example, you get 2,500 health if you were to use the 25% boost, and then you get 2,600 health if you were to use just the 650 boost. So for tanks that have around about 2,000 health and below, it's going to be a lot better for them. However, for tanks like the Mouse, you'd actually gain less total hit points because the 25% would be better than the 650. So it balances out a little bit more, rather than just super heavies get more health and they are better, therefore, just because of the percent bonus. So I actually quite like this. For the vast majority of tanks, this will work out better than the 25%. The spotting time will go up to 4 seconds. I'm guessing mainly because, well, with all the new crew skills and everything else, you can actually get it to sub 3 seconds. So yeah, this would be pretty broken if that was the case. However, you are still spotted for around about 0.75 seconds in Onslaught if you fully maxed out the crew skills and everything else. Just saying, it's still going to be a little bit busted. And inner module damage reduction is 50%. Just remove it. Like, it would be lovely if they just removed it. And the engine fire chance to 0%. Now this is what we like. No more fires. Very good. There'll still be ammo racks. I mean, 50% less, but now hopefully we can actually use different equipment rather than kind of having to use the ammo rack directive, having to use the firefighting directive. I mean, on some of my tanks, I was just using config because it was impossible to play the game mode on some tanks without using that. I love how they just say NA as well for this, because there must be a hidden bonus to the amount of module damage that we receive, because in Onslaught, it is mental how much you received. Whether or not that's because of the HP boost, or whether or not that's because of this, that, or the other, but for some reason, the modules got damaged way more often in Onslaught than it was in randoms. And I cannot be the only one that thinks this. And wrapping things up for the Onslaught, we have the Onslaught Stop update, where we'll have the Bond exhaust unit. So that is going to be even more broken ELC even 90s and EBRs and whatnot. So that's very fun. Lovely. And we will also be able to get the Stinger, which is just an exclusive style, exactly the same as the Hurricane was for, say, the CS63. Well, this is going to be the Stinger, the exclusive style for T57 Heavy. So it's its standalone tank, but just with a nice custom style, just like the Hurricane. And Himmelsdorf has also made a return, as well as adding Muravanka and Live Oaks to the map pool. So thank you very much for that. It does look good. Hopefully we'll see how it plays. I especially like that there's no more fires though. Oh, and one more thing that I actually forgot they were going to add. They've added a few reward tanks that you can now play in Onslaught. I mean, the Hurricane, obviously people want to play it because they got it last season, so we'll play it into this. So that's just going to replace everybody's CS63s just because they want to look cool. But there you go. So you get a Hurricane, a Quillin, Monkey King, V5, M60, Foch B, or Foch 155, sorry, 121B, and the Beijing Opera. So whether or not you see many of them, I don't know. You'll see a lot of Hurricanes, more than likely, and maybe an M60 in there. But the rest of these, I'm not so sure. Now, consumable updates. The main thing that you need to take from this is that small repair kits are now going to act like large repair kits, meaning that when you press it once, it will heal or repair everything that is in your tank. The exact same thing goes for this small med kit. It will heal absolutely everybody in your tank. So no more do you have to then click 4 and then choose the number. You can just tap 4 and it will repair everything. or whatever number it is on your keyboard. The only difference now is that large repair kits will still have that passive bonus. So for large repair kits, it is that 10% bonus to repair speed. And then for large med kits, it is then obviously the stun reduction and also the chance that your crew gets injured by plus or minus 20%. So they still have that. And also the cooldown time will then go down to 60 rather than 90. So the small stuff is staying on 90 seconds cooldown and the large stuff is going to 60 seconds cooldown. Personally, I'm probably just going to sell all my large repair kits and then go for small runs now just to save a bit of money. It just works out better in the long run. I don't really need the large med kits and I don't need the large repair kits anymore because 10%, not really that big of a deal, to be honest with you. Now, there's also going to be some changes to the fuel. Now, at the moment, there's loads of different fuels in the game. As you can see, there's 100 octane, there's 105 octane, there's Lendlease oil, there's quality oil. It's kind of a mess. And what they're going to do is just reset it all. They're going to put it as quality fuel and excellent fuel. It'll be 10% horsepower boost or 5% horsepower boost and a 10% horsepower boost. So there you go. That's what the fuel will do in the game. There'll be 2 different types and it will just be simplified completely. Now, they're also going to remove Speed Governor, and they have already said all credits that you've spent on consumables that are being removed from the game will be compensated. So that means that when the update does come, if you have bought Speed Governors and you've got a few saved up or whatever, then that will just be converted into credits and you'll get that back onto your account. So overall, honestly, the consumable update is so nice to see. So nice to see. It's been a long time coming that small repair kits should have just healed everything or repaired everything on your tank anyway. It's just a good quality of life change. You're no longer paying more for kind of a pretty big advantage, to be honest with you. Large repair kits were a pretty big thing compared to small repair kits, and now that they're basically the same, apart from the cooldown time, I don't really see the issue. So I'm going back to small repair kits. Yep. And also the speed gun removal, again, I don't really use it. I don't really care. Some people might, but you'll just use excellent fuel now, so doesn't really matter. I mean, sure, it might not cost the same. So, you know, Speed Governor was only, what, 3,000 or something? So that would have probably been a lot cheaper than fuel. So maybe a few people were annoyed, but at the end of the day, it just simplifies everything. Not everything could have used Speed Governor, so I don't really see the issue with it being removed from the game. I think it simplifies everything and makes it a lot easier. Now, WoT Tanks Plus is also getting an update, and you're basically paying for something that you get for free on websites like tomato.gg, where you can then find out what the most used equipment is on a certain tank. Now, we were on stream today, and we have found out that a lot of people still use GLD. I don't know why, but the vast majority of the player base uses GLD. That's worrying. So if you do use GLD, stop it and sell them all, and then use something that is actually decent in the game rather than GLD. Anyway, now that's out of the way, yeah, this is the useless update. You just go to tomato.gg and find that out for yourself. This is the most pointless update to WoT Tanks Plus that I've ever seen in my life. Basically, all you do, you go onto this, you go here, and it will then tell you what the most common loadouts are. Wow. But the reason why it's the most useless is because what if, for example, you're an average player, you then get yourself a lava. You think to yourself, I don't know what to put on my lava. And then this is the most common loadout. No. No. Just no. So looking up actual players that are decent at the game and then what they use is going to be 10 times better than this WoT Tanks Plus update. And finally, Battle Pass Season 15. It is 15. Yes, it is 15. Well done, Max. You can count. It will be available with the launch of Update 1.26. So that's going to be roughly towards the start of September. And it will end around the end of November. It will be the final season, as you can see, and your last chance to earn the tokens for the top tier tanks. And remember, you don't need to spend your tokens. You only need to spend your tokens once the Battle Pass is about to end. I believe the tokens are basically there in the shop until like December the 20th, roughly, for you to pick. So don't rush out and feel like you need to spend all your tokens. But the points each season, yes, you do need to spend. But the tokens, you're okay. You can still survive until this next season comes out. So in the current season, if you're trying to save up for something, yes, save them. When this next season comes out, season 15, then spend your tokens. Nice. And I will say, all of these Battle Pass tanks look pretty good. So, especially, honestly, the Concept 5 looks insane. Like, this is actually a really, really nice looking tank. It's kind of blacked out stealth. They're apparently all from the Waffenträger era, like Max von Krieger, or what did they say? Yeah, Max von Krieger's early life. So Waffenträger themed rewards as well for customization rewards. So obviously we are going to be getting the Waffenträger. I believe this is the last version of it around the same time that this is probably going to be released, or maybe a month or so after this is released. Usually it's just before Halloween. We get the Waffenträger stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how this all ties in. But yeah, these look really, really nice. So we get the Panzer 7, we have the Concept 5, and of course we also have the K91, which means that if you're going to be listening carefully, these are going to be on track or top of the tree, which means you can get some discount on them. So if you are thinking about getting any of these, save yourself some time and money and just wait until these go on in the next update, because then you'll be able to get one that is top of the tree and get yourself some nice discount on it. Yeah, let me know your thoughts about 1.26. It's a pretty big update. Like, I'm so happy with the map changes more than anything. The map changes are really, really nice. We'll have to see how Onslaught goes, and also the I mean, not so much the premium tank changes, because I don't really care about them too much. I don't think they're going to make any tanks kind of like a must-have overnight. But I feel like the tech tree reworking, the Batchat's really strong now. The K91 is okay, and then the M48 is good now as well. But all of these tanks needed a buff, and it's also really nice to see that we're getting a new tank line. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.